You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Can't safely move over, please slow down.
Visit drivesafealabama.org, brought to you by the Alabama Department of Transportation, Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, good morning, everybody, and I'm feverishly multitasking. Welcome into the Gary Harris Show for this Monday, September 30, 2024. I'm your host, Gary Harris. I got Chase Brumfeld right there on the other side of the glass, manning the controls, taking your phone calls on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline as we get ready to close out September, and it has been very, very, very good to the University of Alabama Crimson Tide football program. Month of September couldn't have gone any better. 4-0, including another win over the Georgia Bulldogs. And Alabama is now number one in the AP poll this week. The Tide vaulting up from number 4 to number 1 after beating the Bulldogs in an instant classic. What a football game we saw the other night. 41-34. Tale of two halves. Two great football teams, two great programs, and a game worthy of the magnitude, although it certainly looked like for the first 17 and a half minutes of that game that it was going to be an Alabama blowout, but it was not meant to be. What a game. What a night at Bryant-Denny Stadium. What a weekend. And we're ready to go as Alabama looks ahead now to what they hope is another championship season, because the Tide's right where it wants to be. As I said, good morning. Welcome into the program. Chase Brumfeld, your reaction to Alabama and Georgia. What a game, huh?
That was amazing. My heart still is kind of pumping hard. I had to kind of use my inhaler to kind of relax a little bit. That was insane.
I had so much adrenaline. Weird story. I'm at the game, obviously, and I'm scheduled to do a live shot for the 10 o'clock news, and it became obvious that the game wasn't going to be over, by 10 o'clock. And, of course, I've got a guy down there shooting the game, so we couldn't do the live shot. So I'm, the TV station is in the stadium, so digital media center. So I made a decision about 9:45. I said, well, I'm gonna have to leave the game and go around to the TV station to the newsroom so I can do the shot there because they've got me scheduled. So I was in the stadium, but I wasn't watching the game live when the end occurred. I was in the newsroom. By the time we were done with the news, the game was still going on. In fact, Ryan Williams caught the touchdown to put Alabama back up while we were sitting there in the sports. So just crazy game. But my gosh, we're going to dive into all this here in just a second. But first, let me tell you, this hour of the Gary Harris Show brought to you, as always, by Alabama Credit Union, member-owned and not-for-profit. It really is just a better way of banking. I encourage you to find out more at alabamacu.com. That's alabamacu.com. Go to that website or get by and see them at one of their many locations around the great state of Alabama. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money. Ample extra change in your pocket. All right, here's the lineup for today. Rodney Orr, can't wait to visit with him on Alabama football coming up at 9:30. Mr. Tider Insider himself. Then at 10:30, it's going to be Casey Smith on golf. Also, Kalen DeBoer met with the media following that game late on Saturday night, because it was late on Saturday night by the time that he was able to get into the media room and do the press conference, but we've got that for you as well. Also, might pull some Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart, I was really impressed with Kirby in the class that he showed in that press conference. Now, a lot of people are talking about, the pregame speech that got out in regards, but he's talking to his team in the locker room, and I hate when people, first of all, when those get out, and secondly, I hate that people try to gauge a coach in regards to, his demeanor and his character based on that. Those are meant for players only. But in his post-game comments to the media, he was very, very classy. And, both coaches were. And it was just a great game. Two great football teams. But again, Alabama, I keep seeing on the internet a lot of Georgia fans saying that, they want to see Alabama again, or they bet Alabama doesn't want to see Georgia again. If I'm a Georgia fan, the one team I don't want to see is Alabama. Let's be honest. That's the one team I don't want to see. I mean, you beat everybody else. You beat everybody else for 4 years. if I'm Georgia, I'm saying I hope we don't see Alabama again. Because I keep hearing from Georgia fans every time they lose, and one time you did win. I give it to you. You won the national championship a couple years ago against Alabama. But every other game you've played them, what's going to be different the next time? It's always, next time, I know if the roles were reversed and Georgia beat Alabama 9 out of 10 times, I'd be saying, boy, I hope Alabama avoids them in the playoff or the SEC championship game or whatever it may be. But they could meet again. They could still meet again in Atlanta. It's not inconceivable that Georgia could win out and Alabama could win out, and they could be playing in the SEC championship game. If they don't meet there, there's a chance they can meet in the playoff. So they could play again. But if I'm a Georgia fan, based on recent history of the fact that we beat everybody else that we play other than Alabama, maybe there's some Georgia fans out there listening. I'll give them this. For a fan base that continually gets served humble pie by Alabama, they really do seem genuine in their belief that we'll get them next time. Maybe some Georgia fans out there can help me. I would be like, man, alive. I mean, I know it was a spirited comeback, but that game was 28-0 with 12 minutes and 30 seconds to go in the second quarter. It was not over clearly because Georgia came back and took the lead, but you dug yourself a major hole. And anyway, crazy game. Great weekend of college football. NFL, Derrick Henry runs wild last night. Only thing that was disappointing in that game, he had 199 yards rushing touchdown, caught a pass for a touchdown. But there near the end, he was going in for his third touchdown, and that would have also been an extra yard. It would have given him 200 yards. He would have scored. But he got hit, and the ball popped out. Now, the Ravens recovered it in the end zone for a touchdown, but that cost him another touchdown, and it cost him 200 yards rushing. But what a game for him. Bama in the NFL is always well represented. Brian Robinson Jr. had a big game for the Commanders. Jerry Jeudy had a nice game for the Browns, even though they lost to the Raiders. And the Browns looked terrible again. Saturday, we'll get into the Auburn game, obviously, with the fact that I don't know the way to put it other than a meltdown. I mean, they outplayed Oklahoma. They were better than Oklahoma. They were a better football team, playing at home, but they still lost. And they just cannot stop themselves, it seems like, right now from making crucial mistakes. And in that game, to be honest with you, Peyton Thorne played well. But there at the end, 4 minutes to go, he threw it right to the guy. And pick six leads to an Oklahoma win. Big win for Oklahoma because they really didn't have much offense in that game. True freshman quarterback, top 5 wide receivers out. But defensively, they hang in there with you. And offensively, they made enough plays. So, but, Auburn's 2-3 going to Georgia. Ouch. It's not where you want to be. All right, 11 minutes after the 9 o'clock. Corey in Tuscaloosa. Tell you what, code Corey, because we wanted to get the stage set for you. Everybody's juiced up. I want to hear from you folks out there. Alabama, Georgia, instant classic. Jalen Milroe, number 1 Heisman contender right now, according to the College Football Report. Ryan Williams, phenomenal football player. Oh, man, it's like, I don't know if you remember that movie, The Matrix, came out in 1999 with Keanu Reeves. That reminded me of The Matrix. He's almost like he's in suspended animation while everybody around him is going full speed, and it just slows down for him. That little pirouette spin move he made, I don't know how you felt about it, Chase, but it almost looked like he was in slow motion.
The Matrix, that's what it was.
It was a Matrix. That's what I'm telling you, folks. I mean, the guy is just... Listen, a lot of great football players have come through Alabama. A lot of great football players we watch every year. There's still only a handful that you just, that are just at that level. Everybody's good. So it's rare that you see somebody which you go, your jaw just drops and say, he's just different. There's a level of God-given talent and ability in his body that most people just don't possess. No matter how hard they work, no matter how hard they try to improve, most football players are never going to get to his level because he's just got a gift. And, wow, we'll discuss it all. All right, we'll come back on the other side. We'll get to the phone calls. Corey is going to lead us off, and we are going to have a fun show. Rodney Orr coming up at 9:30. As I said, give us a call, 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. We got Kalen DeBoer if we get to it. We've got Kirby Smart if we get to it. And we've got plenty of conversation and just crazy weekend of college football and the game at Bryant-Denny Stadium with 100,000 people and man alive, just an incredible atmosphere. Former President Trump got there just right after kickoff, left at halftime. But you had Kid Rock there. You had Hank Williams Jr. there. You had John Daly there. There were other, celebrities. It was just an incredible atmosphere. We'll be right back with more of the Gary Harris Show here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama sports.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Monday morning, Hale County Emergency Management Agency Director Russell Ween has been deployed with a FEMA strike force of 125 ambulances since before Hurricane Helene slammed into the southeast last week. He's been working long days to rescue those trapped in the debris. He says you just cannot imagine the sheer...
The Tide Tailgate Show is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors, Skyland Boulevard, Tuscaloosa, and the new location, Highway 280, Birmingham. Online at academy.com.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special.
Mondays for the 5 for $5 wing deal.
Checkers with 2 locations, 15th Street in Tuscaloosa and McFarland Boulevard in Northport, open late.
The Alabama Securities Commission protects you from financial fraud. Anyone asking you for investment money must be licensed. You're careful with your money. Fraudsters aren't. Before you invest, call our hotline at 1-800-222-1253 to verify the licensing of the person making an offer and the product. Don't lose your hard-earned money. Learn to protect yourself at asc.alabama.gov. Paid for by the Investor Protection Trust and brought to you by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Visit alabamacu.com to learn more. Some rules and restrictions apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions, both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on the beautiful patio. Come by and say hello to Kim and Lisa, the Billy's Management Dream Team. Billy's, good food, good friends, and good time.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today. Just a chance of a few isolated showers this afternoon or this evening. The high today 81, the low tonight 63. For tomorrow and Wednesday, warm and dry, sunny both days. Highs between 83 and 86. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 70 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to The Gary Harris Show.
Goal line in, touchdown, Alabama!
On your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9. And streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:17. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. Gary Harris, Chase Brumfeld. Man, the adrenaline, I think, is still flowing for people that are Alabama football fans over what we saw Saturday night at Bryant-Denny Stadium. I know Corey wants to talk about it. He's going to lead us off this morning on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. Good morning, Corey.
Good morning, Gary. How are you this morning?
Doing well, my friend.
Well, I really enjoyed the game. It was very exciting, great atmosphere. You couldn't have asked for a better start. I mean, 28-0. Georgia didn't know what hit them when we were at 28-0, but I know I mentioned this to you yesterday. The thing that was kind of, believe me, I'm just looking at this going forward, was why we took our foot off the gas so much and didn't continue to pedal to the metal, because when you let a good team like that come back, it nearly cost you. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the win, but I'm just trying to think why didn't we just keep our foot on the throat and just. Now, I'm not saying you run up the score. I'm just saying, why didn't you run your traditional?
Let me address that. Let me address that, Corey, because I know you tweeted at me about that as well, and I appreciate you calling in. I don't think it's as simple as, well, Alabama took their foot off the gas. I don't think that that's necessarily accurate. I'll tell you why. You got a great football team in Georgia, a great football team. A team, again, that hadn't lost a game to anybody other than Alabama in 4 years, all right? Had won 45, whatever, regular season games in a row. And just a phenomenal team that was, as you said, just took a haymaker. But let me first draw this comparison to a heavyweight fight. Whether Ali Frazier or Ken Norton and George Foreman or some of these great fighters, heavyweight bouts from the 70s, you might have one heavyweight that came out and just blitzkrieg the other, but he didn't knock him out. And then somewhere along the line, that other fighter gets a second win, and the next thing you know, he's landing haymakers. And you've got a fight that goes 15 rounds, and it goes to the judges' scorecards when it looked like one fighter was in control. Then the other fighter came back, and it was, went right down to the wire. What happened? A lot of this had to do with, like you said, give Alabama's coaching staff a lot of credit. They clearly out-prepared Georgia's staff in regards to the beginning of the game. Alabama hit them with stuff that they hadn't seen from both their offense and defense. Got them down 28-0 early in the second quarter, but Georgia started to make adjustments, and somehow they got into half only down 30-7. I say only down 30-7 because for a while it looked like it might be 42-7 or 35-7. And then in the second half they were. And I give Kirby Smart a ton of credit for this. He said, if we're going to lose, we're going to go down swinging, and we're not going to be worried about what the score is. If we lose by 7 or we lose by 40, we lose. And they refused to punt the football. So their mindset was, we're going to go for every fourth down. It doesn't matter if it's at their 22 or at our 22. And they converted them all. So you naturally get put on your heels a little bit because they're making fourth down after fourth down. And it changes the feel of the game. And when you get the football, I don't think you necessarily say we're going to take the air out of it, but you also say let's don't make a mistake, and you are aware of the fact that you got a big lead. And so the dynamic of the game just changed. And I think that Alabama wanted to do more on offense, but I think Georgia made some great in-game adjustments. And some of the things that had worked for Alabama in the first half that Georgia had not seen, Alabama going empty a lot with Milroe at quarterback and no one in the backfield, and some things that they did with the perimeter runs, Georgia adjusted to that. And the game just became harder for Alabama. And I give more credit to Georgia, Corey, than I say, well, Alabama didn't take the foot off the gas. You do have to be aware that you have a 30-7 lead. You do have to be aware of the fact that you don't want to turn the ball over. You do have to be aware of the fact that, you don't want to do anything that's going to cause you to lose the game. Now, in the meantime, you're right. I mean, Alabama offensively wasn't doing a lot, and Georgia got more and more momentum. They didn't. Those first couple drives they had took forever. They were converting fourth down. But after they got the momentum, then they started striking fast. They did. But I don't look at it as Alabama took their foot off the gas. I just look at it that Georgia's a great football team. They made a furious comeback, and I give Alabama a lot of credit for the way they started the game. I give Georgia a lot of credit for the way they bounced back, and then I give Alabama credit again for after Georgia took the lead, being down 28-0 and 30-7, that Alabama came right back with the Matrix play with Ryan Williams suspended animation while everybody else is going full speed around him. He's just sitting there looking at everything in slow motion and taking it in for the touchdown. And then, of course, Xavier Brown making the interception to secure the game. So I just look at it as a great football game. I'm not concerned going forward for Alabama because, first of all, they're not going to play many teams that are better than Georgia. And secondly, I like what I've seen from this offense and the potential that this offense has to be dynamic. So that's my take, Corey. I'm not looking at it in a negative light at all. I just give Georgia and their staff a ton of credit for what they were able to do at halftime to get back in that game.
I was just looking at it like this. If you had gotten off the field a couple of times on fourth down,
no doubt.
And then when we had the Quay Russaw fumble, if you had converted that and made it 40-15, the game would have been over right there instead of going 3 and out. So I was just looking at it from a couple of different ways. Just ways you could have ended the game.
Yeah, no, listen, I agree with you there 100%. You know, if you get any of those fourth down stops, the game's totally different. But they were trying to get them. You know, it wasn't like they weren't trying to get them. And it wasn't like there for a while that Georgia was converting them. You know, Georgia was converting them by half yard, you know, or Georgia was converting them by, you know, a few feet. And then they converted a couple on penalty where you know, Alabama got stops, but there were penalties. So it wasn't like Alabama wasn't trying to get off the field, dude. They were trying. It's just Georgia was making plays or either a yellow flag came in. And you're right. Once you didn't get off the field, then they got a touchdown. Then they got momentum offensively. Then they started rolling. So, but you're right now. But that has nothing to do with Alabama trying to take their foot off the gas. It just had to do with the fact that they couldn't get off the field. Believe me, they were trying, man. They were trying.
Speaking of Derrick Henry, something you may know this, you may not, but he's only 18 yards away from 10,000 career rushing yards.
I do know it. I was hoping he was going to get it last night.
And 5 more touchdowns away from 100 career rushing touchdowns. That's an amazing milestone.
Those are Hall of Fame numbers. If there was any doubt, and there shouldn't be anyway, but if you get to 10,000 rushing yards and you get to 100 touchdowns, then yes, you're a Hall of Famer. I think that's the one thing that's keeping Sean Alexander out, kept him out of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He had the 100 touchdowns, but he came up just short on the 10,000 yards rushing. And but Derrick Henry's going to get it. Almost got it last night. I was very disappointed, as I said already on the show, that. You know, as good as his game was last night, he would have had that 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he fumbled that ball going into the end zone. That cost him a yard rushing, and it cost him another touchdown. And so that was disappointing, but still he had an incredible game, including an 87-yard touchdown on the first play from scrimmage for the Ravens last night against the Bills as they rolled over previously unbeaten Buffalo.
I know a lot of people think that Christian McCaffrey is the best running back, but how do you stop a 250-pound freight train coming downhill at you? And just, he is, you look at his high school numbers, his Alabama numbers, and his NFL numbers, I mean, there's no comparison. I mean, he is probably the best running back this generation has seen when you look at all his playing career through high school, college, and NFL. I mean, and the guy's 30 years old, and he's still doing what he's doing majority of his career. I don't see him. I think he's got another 10 years left in the tank.
Well, he doesn't have 10, but he's got several. And you're right. At 30, he has not slowed down at all. And that game last night was a reminder that he's still the king. Hey, thank you so much, Corey. Appreciate you, buddy. Good to hear from you. All right, we're going to keep it rolling. We're going to get to Philip. Good morning, Philip. How's it going?
Hey, man. Hey, Gary, it's going good. And I can understand why Corey kind of said that about taking the foot off the gas, and I initially agree with him, but you are correct. And the reason you're correct is Alabama, according to what I saw and remembered and wrote about, is that Alabama only had 1 3 and out in the second half.
Yeah, they just didn't have the ball much. You're right. It was just,
right. So that they only had 1 3 and out. And then when they got the ball the other times in the second half, they had a nice little drive going, you know, where they fumbled. Mm-hmm. Alabama got the ball back. Haynes had a 5-yard run. Milroe had a 1-yard run, and then actually we had 2 3 and outs. We had two 3 and outs. And then we completed the pass to Haynes, but it lost a yard, mm-hmm. and we had to punt. Mm-hmm. And then later on in the third quarter, we had an incompletion, Milroe 4-yard run, completion to 15 yards for Adams, Milroe 1-yard loss, Milroe no gain, incomplete pass to Williams, and then a punt. So it wasn't like they were just sitting on it. They were throwing passes, and they were actively, not in sit back mode. They just didn't execute. And that's to Georgia's credit. Just like on the pass that Dupree he had, and then it came out of his arm.
Listen, if that ball doesn't bounce off his chest and go to 17 for Georgia. It's first and goal, and Alabama goes up 35-7, and it's probably game, set, and match. But that's sometimes the weird things about these games, and when you play great teams, getting a team down of that caliber and knocking them out can be two different things. And
that's right.
It is. And listen, I agree with Corey, and I agree with you in regards to if you put them away, there is no comeback, but you have to give them credit. I mean, and the one thing about Kirby Smart as a competitor, he's as good as there is. They never waved the white flag. You'll remember, like you said, it's 28-7, but Alabama's right back down there. Dupree, maybe it's a little behind him, but he had that ball. He catches that ball. It's first and goal at the 2. Alabama goes up 35-7. But what happened was they get the interception. And then Alabama still gets the safety to go up 30-7. I thought a key possession was after they got the safety, they've got a kick. And Cole Adams had about a 25 or 30-yard return out to nearly midfield, and Alabama got a block in the back. Remember that?
Block in the back, yeah.
And then you wound up not getting because you're 30-7. You got a chance to go down and make it 37-7. If you're starting at midfield, and Georgia's still reeling at that point. But they wound up having to punt, and Georgia had a first down, I think, at the 6-yard line with like 30 seconds to go. And Kirby didn't run out the clock. Remember, they threw it 3 times and got wound up getting like 60 yards. And I thought, well, it's padding the stats for Beck, who had a terrible first half. But what Kirby, I think, was saying was, listen, we're going to, they didn't just take a knee. I mean, they played it out. And I think at halftime, the message was, we will go down swinging. We aren't going to punt. We're going to go for every fourth down. And that's hard sometimes as a team that's got the lead to play against a team. They were desperate. They played desperately, and they got themselves back in the game. But at the end of the game, I thought the result was the one that it should have been. I thought Alabama deserved that win, that football game, and they did.
That's right. That's right. Well, I kind of felt like Corey did too, watching it from afar on TV. I sort of felt the same way he did, but actually, it's not quite. It wasn't correct.
Well, like we talked about, I heard Whip and Barry talking about it too. And again, you do have to remember this. This is a team that had won 45 regular season games in a row. This is a team that hadn't lost to anybody not named Alabama in 4 years. They know how to win. Okay, they know how to win games. They know how to get it done. And you know what? For Alabama to have their number the way they do is remarkable when you look at what Georgia.
WTBC. It's all powered by Townsend Honda. For more details on how to win cash, tap that free Tide app.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure
fresh when you order. So whatever the size of your appetite,
there's always something delicious waiting for you here at Taco Casa.
Taco Casa, under the biggest cactus in town.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And, of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hours.
Here for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Follow the Crimson Tide on their journey to another national championship. Touchdown, Alabama! On your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:33. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, and highly anticipated segment this morning. I know because I've already had people on social media texting me saying they can't wait to hear Rodney Orr's thoughts from TiderInsider.com and Tider Insider TV on the Alabama-Georgia game and the rest of college football, and that's time for that segment now. Good morning, Rodney.
Hey, Gary, how are you?
Man, I think I still got adrenaline flowing from that game on Saturday night. I've talked about this before. They all count one. A loss is a loss, a win is a win, but all games aren't created equal. We know that. That game Saturday night was a special football game going in, and it lived up to the hype. It was kind of 2 games in one. But at the end of the day, you have a result, and the result is Alabama 41, Georgia 34. Alabama vaults to number 1 in the country in the AP poll, number 2 in the coaches poll, in one of the best college football games that we've ever seen. And had a little bit of everything, Rod. You sat there, you watched it, you took your notes, and now that you've had 36 hours or whatever to digest it, how you feel about it this morning?
Yeah, I really, honestly liked the way it played out for a lot of different reasons. I mean, obviously, I know some Alabama fans have been a little critical about the way the second half went, but you have to, I think, look at the big picture. I think, first of all, those are two really, really good teams. I'm not convinced yet that those aren't the two best teams after watching Saturday night. I mean, there's obviously some other good ones, but those are two certainly. As we stand this week, that they appear to be two of the very, very best teams, maybe the two best teams in the country. I mean, just, the resolve, the resiliency of that Georgia program, what Kirby has there, the mindset that they play with, you knew that they were going to make a run at some point. I mean, but I'll say this, obviously, let's just start at the beginning. What a game plan that Kalen DeBoer, Nick Sheridan, and his staff, Kane Womack, had in the first half. I mean, they came out, there was no intimidation. There was no anxiety, none of that. They came out right off the bat, very confident, played extremely well, had a great plan, and kept Georgia off balance, had some things that Georgia didn't expect. Kirby even admitted that, said, that they had not seen Jalen Milroe throw in an empty set all season, and that kind of caught them off guard. Again, Alabama was prepared, had a plan of attack, and certainly it succeeded in the first half. And then in the second half, Kirby and Glenn Schumann, their staff, made some adjustments. Carson Beck played better in the second half. So it was a great game, the way it turned out. And then, Gary, here's the thing. When you're a championship program, you're going to have to respond to adversity. Obviously, Georgia responded to adversity down, 30-7, coming back, taking a 34-33 lead, 2 minutes and whatever left, 2:25, whatever it was. And then on the first play, Alabama responds, obviously. That's a championship response. You're on the ropes, and you respond. Milroe throws the ball up on the right sideline. Really good throw. As Kalen DeBoer said, they practiced that. It was intentionally thrown like a back shoulder almost. And Ryan had to go get it, made an incredible play. And then Georgia driving down again, championship battle, right? 15th round, delivering blows. Beck throws one up. Xavier Brown makes a big play. Those are championship programs right there. That's what we saw is a championship game.
Yeah, there's no doubt, Rod. Great analysis. And when you have a team down the way Alabama had Georgia down, and again, I'm with you. I give Georgia a ton of credit. I mean, their mentality, their championship mentality came through. But there were chances probably to put the game away for whatever reason, either Alabama not making a play or Georgia making a play. There's a couple in the first half that you think about. When it's 28-7, Alabama is driving again to go up 35-7, and Milroe hits Dupree. A ball he needs to catch, let's be honest. Maybe a tad behind him, it's in his chest, it pops out, 17 gets the interception. You score there, you're going to have a first and goal after that catch, probably about the 1 or 2 yard line. You go up 35-7, it's going to be much tougher. Even after that play, you get the safety to make it 30-7. They're kicking to you. Cole Adams has about a 25 or 30 yard return out to midfield that gets taken away by a block in the back. And, you go up 37-7 or even 33-7, and it's probably a different situation. And then there was that non-pass interference call where Bernard just got tackled. But Georgia, my point is Georgia, it's still 30-7, it's 30-7 now. It's not like, but, it could have been worse. Georgia, I thought, was fortunate to get in the locker room 30-7, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of my points yesterday on my Sunday Thoughts, was that Alabama had them on the ropes in the first half and, for various reasons didn't deliver the knockout blow. I believe if it was 37-7, I mean, psychologically, that, again, that's a great point differential to overcome. There's no doubt about that. But even psychologically, you almost wonder if it takes a toll, on a team, even Georgia, but Alabama couldn't deliver that blow. I remember sitting there watching the plays you're describing, you're pointing out, and thinking, look, this is Alabama trying to deliver the knockout blow here, and it's just not happening. And again, it was Georgia's a really good team. I mean, to show the fight that they did even late in the first half when things were going wrong is pretty phenomenal. But the one thing I will say, Gary, that if you want to talk about, call it a negative, is the penalties again.
Yeah.
Alabama had 10 penalties. That's we keep saying this. Now, last week they only had, or the Wisconsin game, I think they only had 4. But those 10 penalties were crucial. I mean, they kept drives alive, even though, I'll be honest with you, I think a couple of those penalties, you wonder if they were a little ticky-tack. They kept some drives alive for Georgia. On third down, Georgia was 3 of 15, I think it was. But, Gary, they were, 5 of 5 on fourth down?
They were.
I mean, so there's some things that, obviously, one of the things I was concerned about going into this game was Alabama's secondary. Beck was 27 of 50. Alabama got 3 interceptions. So those are really good numbers, but 439 yards. He was making a lot of these 6, 8-yard throws that were converting, drives and all of this thing, keeping them alive. So, I still think as you look about how Alabama lost some guys in the secondary, Sabb bit on that double move. There's still some things that have to get straightened out here.
Absolutely. And, again, you said it. This is a heavyweight fight. I said this already. Ali Frazier, one guy takes shots and doesn't, get knocked out and comes back and delivers shots. And that's what we saw. Coaching-wise, you're right. The Alabama, give DeBoer, Sheridan, Womack, the first half of the fight. They what they put in both offensively and defensively caught Georgia completely off guard. Even Kirby said, there were some things that went empty on offense and getting the perimeter runs out on the edge, and defensively, obviously they threw stuff at Georgia they weren't prepared for because Beck was, he was just lost in the first half. Give Georgia credit for those in-game adjustments coming back. But at the end of the day, again, Alabama made the plays. And let's get to that because I've already had a couple of people call in and say, well, Alabama took their foot off the gas. No, they didn't on purpose. They weren't trying to. But like you said, Georgia kept converting those fourth downs. That kept the defense on the field. The defense got worn out. Then Georgia started throwing it over the top. And the next thing you know, you're hanging on for dear life. But after all that happened, Rodney, Alabama's down 34-33, and on the first play from scrimmage with still over 2 minutes to go, they don't throw a 7 or 8 yard out. They don't say, well, we're going to try to take the ball down the field and kick a field goal. They say, we got Jalen Milroe and we got Ryan Williams, and we're going to run him down the field, and we're going to throw it up to him, and we're going to see if our best guy can beat your guys. And that's what happened. You got to give Alabama credit for that call. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah. I was talking to a guy, a former NFL quarterback, and he said, I said, what was different? In the second half, because Alabama seemed to struggle. Did they go vanilla, whatever? And he said, well, the biggest thing that happened was Georgia made those adjustments you're talking about. He said one of the things they did was, obviously, they went to a 3-3 defense at times. Now, again, he didn't say that, not a lot of specifics here, but just said things they did to take the edge away from Milroe, not let him get on the corner running the ball, which they did. And then he said there was a lot more zone, that Georgia played a lot more zone, and that's when Milroe held the ball a few times. There was some confusion, sometimes that Alabama didn't convert, had some opportunities. Bernard dropped a ball that would have been a first down. So some things happened that Alabama didn't execute is the bottom line. And Georgia did, so those things set up this last play, which what DeBoer said Saturday night was, when we see we have this matchup, this opportunity, take it. And, they had Brian one-on-one with that Humphreys kid, and, Jalen threw it up there perfectly, and then Brian makes an incredible play. The thing about it is, Georgia, they make this great comeback, and it lasts one play. 14 seconds later, Alabama's back in front. So, what an incredible response. And I think that says a lot about, DeBoer, Sheridan, this Alabama team, Milroe, the whole team. the way they responded there at the end. I mean, it would have been easy to, fold. I mean, mentally, suffering that kind of comeback. But, they made a play, man. They made a play. So that tells a lot to me about, the character of the team, the players and all of that. And it starts with the coach, right? So I think for DeBoer, for Sheridan, for this team, for this program, to win in that fashion builds a lot of confidence within the fan base, around the program. That, there were maybe some questions that what if, Alabama loses and suffers this great comeback from Georgia that, Gary, I think it would have been the most significant comeback among two top 5 teams.
In history, yeah.
In history. So, for DeBoer, that's huge. That's huge because it totally changes the conversation that we're having today.
Oh, no doubt. One thought on the touchdown. First of all, I want to give a shout out after going back and watching the game on television to Herb Street and to Fowler. Fowler at times, I think he's just pro. He's not always, to me, as any play-by-play broadcaster, been perfect, but caught the moment. I thought that was one of the best games I've ever heard the guy call. And his call on Ryan Williams' touchdown just absolutely gives you chills. But, great. Of course, against Rodney, it's easier to have a great broadcast when you have a game like that. But I wanted to give them a shout out. I thought they did a marvelous job. But that play to win the game, one thing, again, that it's easy, to think about the call, but what Ryan Williams did after he caught the ball. It's like Kirby said. Kirby said, he caught the ball, but the disappointing thing was we get him on the ground. Alabama did that ball. He caught it around the 45-yard line of Georgia. I mean, it's still a nice play, but there's still no guarantees you're going to go down and get a touchdown. And, you really don't want it coming down to a field goal. What he did after he caught that ball, Ronnie, I've compared it to the Matrix. It was like suspended animation. They were running around in circles around him, and it was just like he just was just sitting there gliding. I mean, I don't know. It's one of the greatest catches and runs I've ever seen in the history of me watching college football. What about you?
No doubt. Yeah, it's a monumental play. I mean, I would say this, I said this last week on TiderInsider.com, people, asking about Ryan Williams, who you compare him to. And I said, well, to me, I see a little David Palmer. I see a little Devontae Smith. Those are two guys that really stand out to me in terms of the comparison. And that was a lot of Palmer. People who didn't see Palmer, you did, I did. People who didn't see Palmer, David Palmer, those were that move right there. That was vintage David Palmer.
Mm-hmm. Just stop.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, like you said. I mean, it was almost slow motion like stuff. I mean, just to see that happen, and I mean, it's just like, am I looking at what I think I'm looking at? I mean, it was pretty phenomenal. I mean, you have Humphreys and you have KJ Bolden, the safety, running into each other. These guys are incredible athletes, 5-star players coming out of high school, and this 17-year-old kid's doing this little spin move, stop and spin move. I mean, you can't. But that was a lot like Palmer there to me. That's what it reminded me of. And again, I agree with you. I thought Fowler did an incredible job of, kind of describing that. And like you said, I mean, it was but I'll say this too about Ryan Williams. He saved Alabama. He saved Alabama with that play, but he also the catch that he made that where the ball popped up in the air and set him up for that field goal, because that was a big field goal. That gave him 3 more points.
Huge.
Those two plays were monumental in the win. And then Xavier Brown's we've heard so many great things about him, his potential and all of that. He was kind of being picked on a little bit, in this game. But what a play he made in the clutch. I mean, that was a fantastic athletic play that he went up and, made the interception there in that corner of the end zone.
Yeah, it was every bit as big a play. And you're right. He had been picked on a little bit. But in that play, again, it was just a great coverage by ABC. They showed it at a lot of different angles. The way once he saw that receiver was going to the corner, and he knew he had the end zone behind him. It's not like the great thing about that position of the field for a corner is, if you're out at, the 30, Georgia's at their own 30, the guy can get behind you. and lose you. But in that situation, the end zone's your friend. And Xavier Brown never let his eyes leave Beck. And he played the receiver, but he played the quarterback. He was on that ball the whole way, Rodney. Now, it wasn't an easy interception. I mean, he kind of went up and snatched that ball. But the way he used the end zone and the corner of the end zone, because he knew he had a backstop behind him to play the ball in the air, was beautiful. And Alabama fans everywhere need to be rejoicing, because all we've heard for years is they don't ever find the football. They never turn. Well, he did, Rod.
He did. And I thought Georgia's receivers a few times pushed off, got away with a couple of pushes. That one didn't look like, I think it was Colby Young back there in the corner for Georgia. Brown went over him.
He did.
I mean, just went up and snagged the ball. I mean, a great play. That's why, again, he was a 5-star corner coming out of Mater Dei High School out in Santa Ana, California, this last year. And sometimes a play like that for a young player, it kind of is their step that pushes them to the next really big thing. And I know there's a lot of people that are, and I'm talking about people that played the game. I know George Teague, obviously, has been raving about Xavier Brown since last spring. Maybe this is a play that kind of takes him to the next level.
I think he could. And he and Williams both special freshmen. All right. Now Alabama's number 1 in the AP poll, number 2 in the coaches poll. They're back to where they're used to being. A maturity test. A test is ahead, Rod, in that now you go to Vanderbilt and you know that Alabama fans are going to be there. It's going to be like a neutral site game against a team that you don't get as excited and ready to play as you do against Georgia. But this is a capable football team. They probably could easily be undefeated. Should have, would have, could have, but, almost beat Missouri. My point is, if you don't have the week of preparation that you need, you could go up there to Nashville Saturday afternoon if you don't get yourselves ready to play, and this game can wind up being a lot tougher than people think it's going to be, right? So this is a test in a different kind of way.
Well, I know I'm a Psycho fan, right? That's who's the guy that calls your show? Gravedigger, or what's his name?
Digger. Yeah.
Well, his Texas Longhorns were locked into a real battle with Mississippi State. All right. Saturday, it was a 7-6 game right before half, remember?
Right.
We were watching it. All right, so it's kind of the same thing. The weekly grind in the SEC is a little different. So I think Texas learned that. I think Sark knew that. But I think, in terms of his program there at Texas, week to week, it's going to be a grind. Texas was in a little bit of a battle. Of course, they pulled away, and they should have. They're a lot better than, Mississippi State. It's the same thing here. You go to Vanderbilt, and I think Vanderbilt's a better team than Mississippi State based on what we've seen. That quarterback for Vanderbilt's pretty impressive. I mean, he makes some plays. He's a really good player. Coming off an emotional win like Alabama had, there's a lot of energy spent, a lot of emotion. It's a lot of talk this week. I think that's the challenge that Kalen DeBoer has this week is kind of getting his players back, their feet back on the ground. That's what made Nick Saban so great, in my opinion, was one of the things he could do was he could keep a team even keel, not too high, not too low. And I think, in the SEC, that's the way you have to approach each week. And I think Kalen DeBoer kind of sent that message, after the game that they've still got a ways to go. We want to be happy with this win, pleased about it, but at the same time realize there's other things that we have to accomplish. There's still next Saturday. And so just managing that week to week, I think that's the challenge this week with this team is, going to Nashville, staying focused and because Vanderbilt is a better team than what the Vanderbilt teams we've done in the past, regardless of, like you said, they've lost a few games that maybe they should have won.
All right, Rob, before we close it out, I wish we could just keep going. But since, and you and I, of course, go back to the 70s, watching great players come through Alabama. But in the Saban era, we've seen a lot of great ones, man. I mean, Ingram and Julio and Tua, and it goes on and on and on. But Derrick Henry is a special football player. And at 30 years old, watching him do what he did last night, go for 199 against the Buffalo Bills team that was undefeated, 2 touchdowns. Would have had a third. Now the only downside is he fumbled going in the end zone. That also cost him a yard and another touchdown. He would have had 203 touchdowns. But you're talking about a special football player, Derrick Henry. He was special in high school. He was special when he was here. And at 30 years old, he's still doing some things that just kind of defy what running backs are supposed to do. I wanted to just get your thoughts on, you and I go back to watching him in high school when people were trying to move him to defensive end or trying to move him to linebacker, and or tight end, and he just refused to do it. So quick word from you on Derrick Henry.
Yeah, is he over 10,000 now?
He's like 18 yards away. He's close.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Well, he's closing in on it. Yeah, I mean, phenomenal. Just an incredible player. I mean, obviously, those are things that are pretty obvious. But again, I think he was a guy that not only did he have the physical talent, but he had he had the drive, he had the want to, he had the belief. Like you said, there's a lot of people that really know what they're talking about for the most part that said he can't be a college running back. I remember talking to him the first time I ever interviewed him in high school, and he was still committed to Georgia. A lot of people forget. Right. Devontae Smith and Derrick Henry were both one time committed to Georgia. So I'm asking Derrick about, would you consider playing another position? You think you could end up in, maybe a jack linebacker? I mean, at that time he was 6'2", 6'3", 240 pounds in high school. He said, no, I have no passion. If I have to move positions, I'll just quit because my passion is playing running back. And if I'm not going to be a running back, then I don't care to play. And you know what? He proved a lot of people that doubters wrong, and understandably. And I think, Gary, because of his kind of unique size or whatever, style, whatever it is, he just never seems to quite get the publicity that he deserves, or however you want to say it. I don't know if it's publicity or
recognition
whatever
of being one of the all-time greats, right? That's probably Jim Brown,
Herschel Walker.
Yeah, he's yeah.
I mean,
college,
Gary,
you're right.
2,219 yards in a season, 28 touchdowns. I mean, that was one of the most phenomenal seasons ever in college football history.
Absolutely. He should be mentioned with Herschel and Bo and all the times that he's not. It's disappointing. Hey, real quickly, we're up against it, Rod, but TiderInsider.com, still just $48 a year, and you'll definitely want to tune in. I know we're having issues at WVOA 23 on some of our providers, but Tider Insider TV tomorrow night is going to be great at 6:30. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Rod.
Okay, buddy. Take care.
All right, we got to get to the break. We're over. That's okay. We'll come back and wrap up this first hour right after this.
On the Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Monday edition of The Game, we're going to do our Daniel Moore good moments of the game. Hopefully those are great moments as we recap Alabama, Georgia. We'll do it with Drew DeArmond, Martin Houston, Barrett Salee, all starting at 2 p.m. on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa
in Birmingham. Plus, don't miss our grand opening celebration Friday, October the 11th through Sunday, October 13th. And check us out at academy.com with free shipping on purchases over $25.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today. Just a chance of a few isolated showers this afternoon or this evening. The high today 81, the low tonight 63. For tomorrow and Wednesday, warm and dry, sunny both days. Highs between 83 and 86. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 70 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:59. We got to come right back in and rejoin and get to the break. I went over with Rodney, but I just didn't want to end the conversation, man. It was so good. That'll be available at our podcast center very, very soon. When you hear us again, we'll be into hour number 2. Thanks to Alabama Credit Union for the first hour. Back with more phone calls. Second hour, a lot to get to. So stay with us here on the Gary Harris Show.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles,
Here's Nick Cope.
NFL injury updates this morning. A report from NFL Media says Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson is not expected to miss much time after suffering a hip pointer in the win over the Steelers yesterday. Reports this morning say Chiefs receiver Rashee Rice is feared to have a torn ACL. He'll have an MRI today to confirm. NFL Media says Packers receiver Christian Watson suffered a high ankle sprain in the loss to the Vikings and is expected to miss multiple weeks. NFL Media also says Dolphins running back Raheem Mostert is not expected to play tonight against the Titans as he deals with a chest injury. In baseball, the Mets and Braves makeup doubleheader today will determine the NL wildcard teams. If they split the two games, both reach
WTBC. It's all powered by Townsend Honda. For more details on how to win cash, tap that free Tide app.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa, Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after.
How many Tuscaloosa customers are searching online for your type of business? It's quick, easy, and free. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom. Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters. The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, welcome back into hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC. I'm Gary Harris, Chase Brumfeld alongside, and what a first hour, man. Just, I tell you what, it's the vibe of this show. You think about, in this town, think about the difference if Georgia comes all the way back and wins that game 34-33. If they come all the way back and win it, as opposed to the vibe it's been since then. I mean, that's how big sports is. That's what it can do to you. The psyche, the vibe, the feeling in this town would be completely different. But Alabama did come back and win it after nearly blowing it. And it's been a remarkable weekend. We're going to continue to discuss it. Casey Smith on golf, talking about the President's Cup coming up at 10:30. And also we'll try to get to some Coach DeBoer and Coach Smart audio. But right now we're jumping out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline 205-342-9904. And that's where we find my pal, the Cowboy. This should be interesting because I know Cowboy always has a tendency to look at these big wins and put a little bit of a negative spin on it. Cowboy, is that what you're about to do? You're about to tell me some of the things that Alabama didn't do in this game and why you're concerned?
Oh no, I'm not going there. Anybody that knows sports knows that I'm not going there.
All right.
I'll beat you to the punch. Hey, I got a quandary for you here.
Okay.
What's AABC ESPN going to do on the Alabama-Tennessee game weekend, Texas-Georgia, and you got Auburn-Missouri? I'm thinking this is what they could do. And you got a couple other games. You could play Alabama-Tennessee on ESPN at night. Georgia, Texas on ABC or vice versa. And you could show Auburn, Missouri in the 2:30 window and Oklahoma, South Carolina in the 11 a.m. window.
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, they got a lot of options just because of the fact that they've got several different outlets to carry the games. You're right, and of course ABC now. The ABC primetime game is the number one game. That's the one right now. If Tennessee and Alabama both remain unbeaten, I would think that might get the nod over Georgia and Texas. But I don't know. Like you said, you could counter with ESPN, but they've got slots throughout the day. 11, 3:30, and or 11, 3 and 6:30 or whatever it is. So
yeah.
And like I said, they'll have a good lineup, but Herb Street Fowler on ABC, that's the number one game. So it'll be interesting to me. Listen, Auburn, Tennessee, and Missouri, come on, man. I mean, that's a secondary game. Let's be honest about it. The battle is going to be see who gets the ABC primetime game between Alabama, Tennessee, and Texas and Georgia. That's what's going to be interesting to me.
Yeah, well, you got more TV sets in the state of Texas, is why I'm thinking they might go prime time with that. But
and they could, and you do, but also, an Alabama-Tennessee unbeaten top 5 matchup is going to be up there with anybody if that's the case. Yeah. Now, if something happens that somebody loses before Alabama and Tennessee, then that would either one of those teams lose. That would definitely change it. And
you ready to start? You ready to start breaking that game down? Because that's what that's going to be the one that determines if you make the SEC championship game as the number 1 seed.
Well, I'm not ready yet, Cowboy, because you say I know you know me too, and I don't look past. That's just not the way I'm made. I said I'm not a coach, but I have a coach. I'm not looking past Vanderbilt or South Carolina. I think you got to be ready to go every week in this league, and if you're not, you can get upset. So I'll worry about Tennessee when Tennessee gets here. My concern, honestly, I'm not trying to. This is not me trying to be a cute sports talk show host. I'm worried about Vanderbilt because you got to have the right mentality going in there. And if Alabama does and they have a good week, they're going to go in there and win the game. And they'll probably win the game anyway. But I want to see how they respond to this Georgia game, and if they're ready to go and they go up there and make a statement and put that game away early, or if you look up in the third quarter and it's 20 to 13 or something. I'm worried about Vanderbilt.
You're going to get the Diego Parva, or however you say his name. He's going to run that option.
He is, and
they're going to come at you with that.
He's tough.
So that's what they're going to do and try to shorten the game.
Yeah,
that's what they, And Jerry Keel's an old time established football coach.
Yeah,
he's won at some outplaced schools, and he's the offensive consultant. So, but I think Alabama will be all right there. I think the game that you better be tightening your seatbelt for before Tennessee. It's South Carolina at 11 a.m. in the morning.
Sure,
that's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one that's going to kind of be the quirky deal. Then you got if Vanderbilt runs well on us, then South Carolina's going to see that film and they're going to play Robbie Ashford a little bit and run that crap with him.
No doubt. No, listen, plenty. That's right. You just said it. Plenty of concerns before you get to Tennessee week. Plenty of concerns. Yeah. And one thing about Diego Pavia and Jerry Keel is you're absolutely right about what you said. And I know it's apples and oranges, but you talk about their ability and Keel's ability to win at places. I mean, that's the duo that went in New Mexico State last season, went into Auburn and just beat them up and down the field. And then Alabama had to have a 4th and 31 play to win the game down there. So, I'm with you. But listen, Tennessee's going to be a huge game. There's no doubt about it. But got to get through these two first.
Yeah. One last thing. I've kind of noticed in these games against Kalen DeBoer, Kirby Smart, Steve Sarkisian, and Dan Lanning, all Nick Saban forms of guys, or Kirby Smart. DeBoer gets up on them early, and then they fight to get back in the game.
Yeah. He beat every one of them.
And then they lose the ground at the end. It's just an interesting analogy. I guess they're making adjustments, but they're so far behind. Who knows? I don't know. I'd like to kind of see somebody kind of figure. I might have to try to do my own film study and analyze it, because they make adjustments, but then they get beat after they make the adjustments.
Yeah, well.
But that Ryan Williams, I don't care what anybody says, he's the best player in America today in college football.
He's special, no doubt about it. All right, Cowboy, they're lined up for me. Appreciate you, man.
All right, be good, buddy.
Thank you. All right, next up is Jeff in Tennessee, and then we'll get to Digger, who's making the rounds today. Hey, Jeff, good morning.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Doing good.
I just want to say, I don't know if Harris was the one that was with the guy the other night. Were you with the guy on the post game the other night?
Was I where?
On the post game show after the football game Saturday night.
No, that's not me. That's
okay. I thought that was somebody else I didn't know.
Yeah, it is.
He was talking talking about Kentucky's basketball program. I guess we've gone in the pot now that Calipari's left. We're going to be 1-28 this year in basketball because he asked about basketball. But I guess we're going to be so bad that we're not going to beat anybody. I guess we'll just be 0-29 in basketball this winter. We don't have Calipari anymore. We're just gonna fall into the pot, And Alabama's going to be this king of SEC basketball. Now they made one Final Four. They think they're some kind of blue blood now. That they made, they've got their framed Final Four. They're up there in Coleman Coliseum. Whatever it is, they framed it now because, like I said, last year when they went to the Final Four last year.
Well, I don't know anybody who thinks Kentucky's not going to win a game, so I don't know. I don't know where you came up with that, and I don't know how we're getting on a Kentucky basketball conversation this morning.
Here's what I want to say: we beat Ole Miss this weekend, as you guys know, and of course I know you know who Drew DeArmond is, the big Huntsville guy. He said that when you lose to Kentucky in football, you're eliminated from the playoffs. This ain't basketball, of course. And he likes to bash Kentucky football. He doesn't like Stoops like the rest of this league. He's the most underappreciated, underrespected coach in this league, and our university is as well. Everybody knows it. Okay, I don't care what he does in football. I don't care what we do, what players we have or anything. They're not good enough for anybody in this league. Okay, Berrien Brown is a no-good kick returner.
I hadn't said any of this, Jeff, so I don't know why you're hitting me with this.
I'm telling you what fans think and what the media think.
Well, that's got nothing to do with me. I have not disrespected Kentucky at all. Well, go.
I'm telling you what media and fans think in this league. And everything else, because you guys celebrated Saturday night like you won a national championship. You didn't win. There was no trophies given out Saturday night, and you guys think you won the whole thing by beating Georgia the other night. Like, you sitting there and celebrating it, Bryant Dean, like it's some kind of a,
I think Alabama knows a little bit more about winning championships in football. Shut up. Enough of you. All right, Digger, go ahead. I don't like I get hit with that. The guy's crazy.
I promise you got to wonder how much bourbon he's had.
I'm telling you, I think he got up drinking it this morning.
Oh, Lordy, man. Okay, Gary, hit the button.
I mean, I tried to give the guy a little leeway, Digger, but I don't even know what he's hitting me with all this stuff. I hadn't even mentioned Kentucky. I don't know what he's talking about. My Lord.
All right, real quick. Look, I'm going to let y'all play this thing out with Georgia and Alabama.
Sure.
But you got to admit, you're 28-0, and they found their way back in the game.
Yep, sure did.
Okay, that would have been disastrous if they lost that game.
I agree.
Although I'm yucking it up a little bit, I think it helped the recruits for Texas and Georgia. We've got some serious D linemen in Georgia we want, so it helped. But real quick, since we're complaining, can I just ask, who was your play-by-play guy? I'm not calling him out. This guy's awful. What's his name?
You talking about for radio?
Yeah, radio.
Chris Stewart?
Yeah, Chris Stewart. I thought it was Christian Stewart, but it's Chris Stewart. Okay. This guy's horrible. Okay. I had to download my ABC app to get another game, to listen to somebody else call the game, because he was more hell-bent on trying to jab Georgia. He was foaming at the mouth. And when Georgia was making this comeback, he was very nonchalant about it, and he wasn't going to do it. He's bad on his math. He doesn't point out the flag. He was just sitting there commenting. He's a color analyst. He didn't do play-by-play. Okay? So the guy needs to wake up and say, hey, man, you got a game to call. Okay? I'm not telling you how to do your job, but let me tell you, you did not do a good job. It was bad enough to where I had to go download another app and listen to somebody else call the game. Okay? And who is D Square? He's the worst. I want Christian back. I want Corey back on the sideline. I'm telling you, D Square is awful on the sideline. Y'all got to reset this thing.
Well, it ain't me. I don't have anything to do with it. Just like I don't know what Jeff was talking about with Kentucky. Of course, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm friends with Chris Stewart and with Damian Square. So
they're nice guys.
But anyway, what about the game?
They're nice
Well,
guys,
let's
but
focus
come on.
on.
They weren't doing their job.
Let's focus on the games. Digger, what you got
Listen,
on? But I'm with you on. If Alabama had lost that game, it would have been disastrous, but they didn't. And but I will say this too: give Georgia credit. That's championship DNA. When you've played 4 years and you hadn't lost a game to anybody other than Alabama, they know how to win. Now you got to admit that.
One more thing, and I'll get off.
Okay.
Not a quarterback controversy. Number one rated quarterback in Pro Football Focus is Arch Manning.
Yeah, I heard you with Whip and Barry, and I'm not going to argue that. And in fact, I told Barry that when I got in. I said, I get Digger's point. I don't disagree with you that he's the highest rated quarterback right now based on what he's done on the field. I have no issue with that. He's not the top Heisman contender.
The point I'm trying to make is I want him in more play. I want him part of the game plan.
Well, let me ask you this serious question. When Ewers is back, Ewers is going to be the quarterback, and
he's going to start.
For Oklahoma, yeah. And I don't know that there's going to be a package for Manning other than.
I sure hope so.
Well, I guess maybe there could be. I don't know. Sark, if anybody could pull it off, it would be Sark. I have a lot of respect for him as a quarterback coach and offensive coordinator, and of course, obviously a head coach now, but as a guy play caller. So I don't disagree with you there, but I'd also think it's hard to play two guys on a regular basis. I really do.
You might need it for Oklahoma for sure.
Yeah.
Because I'm being serious, because look, Oklahoma is going to be like Alabama and Georgia. They've saved plays. They've drawn up a game plan strictly for Texas. We're going to see plays we haven't seen, and now we got to deal with new SEC officials that we're not used to yet. Okay? That's something I didn't factor in at all, and I'm like, holy crap, they are calling a totally different game in the SEC than the Big 12. I'm not excusing. They should have got them ready for this, and I don't think we're ready for the officials yet. So I'm hoping they do something about it, but I'll let you go.
All right, appreciate it, Digger. Good call. Let's go ahead and get to our break. And Ellis, you stay on hold. We'll get to you. Jeff's called me before, Chase, and I'll usually try to give him a little bit of leeway, and I did then. But don't call in and start attacking me for stuff I haven't even said.
If Wyatt was in the studio with me, he'd put his hands up, be like, "No."
Don't come in and start railing at me about stuff I got nothing to do with. And my gosh. All right, we're going to get to the break. And before we do, though, I do want to remind you, the YMCA of Tuscaloosa, today is the last day in their September special. If you go by the Y and join today, you get you don't have to pay a joining fee. Just start paying your dues. Same thing with personal training packages. If you go ahead and get a personal training package today, you get 10% off, and you lock it in before the end of the month because this is the end of September, and all those great things are going on through the end of the month at the YMCA of Tuscaloosa, 2300 13th Street downtown. The better living at First and Main. Visit firstandmaincondos.com or call 205-657-7465. Mention you heard about us on the radio and receive 1 month free rent.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today. Just a chance of a few isolated showers this afternoon or this evening. The high today 81, the low tonight 63. For tomorrow and Wednesday, warm and dry, sunny both days. Highs between 83 and 86. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 70 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 10:23. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, and I'm giggling. Jeff in Tennessee. I have not dealt with him nearly as much as some other shows have, but he's called me a few times, and listen, I'll give you some leeway, and Digger and I had kind of an adversarial relationship when he started calling him. We've become cool, and he's a welcome caller, and Jeff can call back too. But I mean, don't just start screaming at me about stuff that I don't even know what you're talking about. I mean, come on, dude. Try to have a little bit of couth. We don't hit the dump button much around here, but I had to get rid of that guy. All right, let's talk to Ellis up in Tennessee. He's also in Tennessee. I hope he doesn't hang out with Jeff. Good morning, Ellis.
No, sir. I don't hang out with crazy people like that. Man, wow. He needs to take Xanax or something.
Yeah, I mean, I worry
Calm
about
down.
I worry about his mental health, dude.
Yeah, and you didn't say none of it. I mean,
I didn't even know what he was talking about.
Yeah. When he calls, Drew has to put up with him every day.
Yeah, I know he.
But Drew don't cut him no slack.
Yeah, I know Drew.
I mean,
he and Drew have they go at it pretty good. I know that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I wish everybody quit saying that we took our foot off the gas. They went in at halftime, made some adjustments, like Kirby Smart said, and they went on fourth down, like they did, and made every one of them. You know, so. But at the end, the better team prevailed.
Yeah, you know, at the end of the game, the result matters. And, you know, I know coaches and Coach Saban process don't pay attention to the scoreboard, and I agree with all that. All that stuff I agree with. But at the end of the game, you do get a result, and the result for Alabama is the right one. I mean, like we've talked about this morning, you know, when two great teams play a great game, you know, you're splitting hairs either way, but at the end of the day, Alabama made one more play. Actually made two more plays. You know, Alabama dominated that first quarter, early in the second quarter, really the first half, and then Georgia dominated the second half. But when Georgia made that play to take the lead, Alabama made a play on offense, and then they made a play on defense to seal it. So they still made more plays than Georgia did, and that's why they got the win.
Yes, and I didn't have no doubt in my team. There was no L in the thought in my brain or in my head, no matter what, when I was watching that game. And I knew something was going to happen because we were playing so good.
Mm-hmm.
And then to be able to be there and watch the game, and then to see Ryan Williams make it catch was priceless. I mean.
Yeah,
and everybody, and in that Jalen, the way he threw the plays that they had for him, intermittent passes, all that. I mean, you look how good he done.
Well, you know, again, what was so weird about the end of that game for me is that I had been there, you know, and in fact, because of former President Trump coming in, I got to the stadium much earlier than I normally do for a game that's going to kick off about 6:40. I normally probably wouldn't even get there till about 4:30. But I got there at 3, and so I was in the press box by about 3:15. So I'd been in there all afternoon, and then the entire game, and then it got to be about 9:30, and I'm scheduled to be on the news live at 10, and I said, well, there's no way this game's going to be over 10 o'clock, and I got my guy down there shooting the game. So I texted the station. I said, listen, I'm just going to come back to the station so I can do my live hit at 10 o'clock from the newsroom because the game's still going to be going on. So I walked, you know, out of the press box, took the elevator downstairs. All I do is just walk down and, you know, go back up another elevator, and I'm at the TV station. So I was literally standing there in the newsroom with a mic in my hand and a light on me, you know, waiting for the sports segment. And all of a sudden, I'm watching the game out of the the left side of me. We have a bunch of TV monitor banks, and I'm watching Ryan Williams, you know, catch the pass. So I literally was in the stadium, but not watching it. I had to watch it, and I couldn't really focus on it because I'm about to go live. So my live shot kind of just turned out to be play-by-play of what was happening in the game. You know what I mean? So it was kind of interesting for me. And then by the time the news was over. The game was over. The news was over before the game was over, so we got to see Damani Jackson make the clinching interception. So just crazy, man, just crazy.
Oh, it was, and like you, I think you said it, and Super Joe says it. It's like Ollie and Frazier, you know, like two big heavyweights fighting it out.
It was,
you know.
Man. You know, you've seen it in fights before. When you have two great fighters, and I always like to think about heavyweights because I love watching the heavyweights. But when you have two great fighters, you know, you might have one guy come out and it looks like he's gonna dominate the fight, but he doesn't knock the guy out. And then the next thing you know, the other guy, because he's a great fighter too, middle of the round starts to get his second win, and then he starts landing punches. And all of a sudden you think he's going to knock the other guy out. And then at the end, in the 15th round, the guy who had dominated early and then was getting dominated, he lands a punch to win the fight. So that's kind of what that football game was, man. You're right. It was two heavyweights squaring off in the center of the ring. One heavyweight came out throwing just barrage of punches and had the other guy staggered but didn't knock him out. And then the guy that was staggered, came back and almost knocked out the guy who'd been dominating but didn't. And in the end, Alabama landed the last punch, man, and they got the win. It was a great football game.
And I'm not looking ahead to Tennessee either, like you. I'm looking toward Vanderbilt and South Carolina.
You can't in this league, man. You have got to go. You really do have to go one game at a time, because if you're not ready to go, worried about what's happening down the road, somebody will get you. That's just the way it is, Ellis. You know that.
Yes, and I will be in Nashville this weekend.
I will be too. So maybe I finally say hello. I was thinking you might get by Innisfree Friday before I left.
I tried to, but I got there late, and then I had where I stay at. I helped that guy set the camper up and everything, and he got there, so I had to go help him do that.
I got you.
But my plan is to be able to come down there again, finally meet you. I want to finally meet you sometime.
We definitely will, buddy. All right, man. I got to get to the break. Thanks, Ellis.
All right, roll tide.
Appreciate you. All right, 10:30 here on the Gary Harris Show. Our Bama football trivia contest every Friday, presented by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery University Mall. We gave away that beautiful national championship print from 2nd and 26 this past Friday. We'll be giving away another print this coming Friday. And
these changes are within just a couple of days.
Text support to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
All right, 10:33. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, and we'll get to Casey's thoughts on Alabama, Georgia as well. But we're going to break away from football for just a few minutes for our golf report and the President's Cup. Good morning, Casey.
Hey, good morning, Gary. Hope you're doing well. Exciting weekend in Tuscaloosa.
Oh, unbelievable! And football certainly is on the forefront, but golf. I didn't watch any of the President's Cup. I'll be honest with you. Busy, but I did monitor it and saw the USA jumped out fast in day one. The internationals came back in day two. USA wins the President's Cup, and it's still flying under the radar, obviously, compared to the Ryder Cup. But there was maybe more chippiness than we even see in a Ryder Cup. I mean, everything from a fan getting on Scotty Scheffler about his wife and Ted Scott confronting the fan to the international team's celebration on day two that upset the U.S. team, and then the Kims accusing Cantlay and Schauffele of poor etiquette, and the U.S. gets the win. I know some people are blaming Mike Ware, saying that the discrepancy in the score was not was much closer than it looked like based on he made some poor decisions. So there was a lot surrounding this President's Cup, even though it flew under the radar, Casey. So I kind of want you to kind of pick it up and lay it out for us.
Yeah, I mean, lot to uncover. Congrats to the USA team for winning their 10th straight President's Cup. They've won every one but one, and then there's been one tie and one win for the internationals. It's been so long now. Looks like dominance. I didn't think as much fanfare going into the event. That obviously picked up there at the event. The internationals are, chippy, trying to win their first in a long time, and had a really good team. U.S. really rolls out on Thursday for the first time ever. They go in President's Cup. They go 5-0. So open the President's Cup, win all 5 matches. Looks like it's going to be a boat race. Then on Friday, the international team comes back and wins 5 straight themselves. So really tied it up. And then Mike Weir, the part that you've read about is he sent out the Canadians again to the Team Canada that were on the team. And a really cool story. The 3 Canadians that were on the team, they all went to the same school, the same college, and Mike Weir was their idol. So really cool. They're getting to play in their own country with Mike Weir as their idol and their captain, and they earned their way on the team. But we won 7.5 to 4.5 in singles, where U.S. is really always the strongest, and shut them down. There was a lot of back and forth. I mean, Tom Kim is really close to Scotty Scheffler and Sam Burns. And Scotty said after the fact that we're really close friends outside of this week. We've, gotten at each other a little bit this week, which when the players start getting each other, the fans are going to get each other. And that's really what happened. You had some people jumping all over Scotty Scheffler's wife, and his dad gets involved in it. His daddy gets involved in it. And then, Jim Furyk really had the guys out there. We'll give him this. They had after some lazy picking, we thought, had them ready to play, and they played differently, where our USA team has been very charismatic and very loud and very boisterous. They were very calm. You could tell that was definitely an agreed upon group sentiment. They were going to really just be the quiet. They're on the road, so that makes sense. They were going to be the quiet team that won with their play on the field. The international team was talking a lot of trash, especially the Kims, and provided some life to an event that was pretty dead. So, U.S. wins. Next President's Cup is at Medina in Chicago in 2026. And it should be, you should have more guys probably available for the U.S. side, because Liv will definitely be back together by then. And then the internationals, their guys are only, they're going to lose potentially by then. What will Adam Scott do? Will he make a 12th President's Cup? I don't know. But he's played really good golf. And the young guys on the international side are only going to get better. And if you bring the Liv guys back, you're getting some really good players internationally. So it should make it only even a better event for television.
Yeah. So I'm with you. A little buzz coming out of that. So your feeling is, and you've covered a lot of these, or you kept tabs on a lot of these types of competitions, is that usually the drama's reserved for the Ryder Cup. We got some drama this week, the President's Cup, but everything's good once the competition's over, and these little petty things go away pretty quickly, or do they continue to simmer?
Yeah, that stuff is probably there a little bit for some of them. It just depends on the closeness of the friends. There'll be some of those guys that'll rub them the wrong way for a while because they're not really close friends on all sides. But, the guys I thought really answered the bell. Xander Schauffele, you got to give him a grade of an A+, 4-1-0. Cantlay, he's been all right down the stretch, I thought, this year. He really showed out. Throwing darts, making a huge putt. He went 4-1-0. Colin Morikawa went 4-1-0. Keegan Bradley went 2-1-0. I thought that was really cool to see him. Russell Henley is probably the star of as far as the guys that you didn't really know as much about and how they would fare. He's just an incredible putter. And those are really usually putting competitions. They partnered with Scotty Scheffler. He went 3-1-0 in his first ever team competition. Sam Burns 3-0-1. That's good to see him. He's somebody that can really help us going forward. Scheffler lost his singles match, really could have won it. It was already really in hand. He went 3-2-0, so he could have been 4-1-0. But now it's just all right. Sahith Theegala was just all right. Max Homa, we thought Nick Dunlap should be there, and he should have been there. Max Homa goes 1-2-0. He was really he went 0-2 in both foursomes appearances. I think you could very easily say that Nick Dunlap would have done better. We both knew that he wasn't playing well, Max Homa. We knew that Wyndham Clark wasn't playing well down the stretch. He goes 1-2-1. And then Brian Harman goes 0-3-0. And so those three guys were captain's picks, great chalk captain's picks. They were the worst three players that played all weekend. Keegan played really good, and Russell Henley played pretty good. I think when you look at it, looking back, I think Nick Dunlap, I recall Nick Dunlap being there, it's only heightened even more. You can see they won, so not to take anything away from them, but I do think if you look at just merit of who's the players, who was hot, who was good, who could have added the most to the team, and probably gotten the most out of what that would have meant, the implications for future confidence in Cup for him, knowing he's going to be on some of those teams. I think they probably missed there, but that's sort of my summary. I thought Jim Furyk, obviously he did some really good, and how he got those guys ready to play and how he had them really adopting a little bit of his personality of being calm and cool. I do have to give him credit there. I thought that was, if the U.S. team would have acted the way that we've sort of shown and run with our emotions on the sleeve in prior Ryder Cups, there would have been a major issue up there. They weren't really ready for that, and the international team was ready to spar. Fortunately, we did all of our sparring with our clubs.
All right. Good recap there of that, Casey. Now we look ahead, and we talked about this a little bit last week. The PGA Tour is going to be in Jackson, Mississippi this week for the Sanderson Farms Championship, just down the road. Alabama is in Nashville this weekend. So you got a lot of former Bama guys in the field. You've also got Tuscaloosa's Patton Kizzire, who's coming off a win, and Nick Dunlap obviously is going to be one of the favorites to win this event. So this is an event close by with a lot of local interest, and might be one of those events, like we said last week, that if it's not too far to drive to Jackson, Mississippi. It's only 2.5 hours from Tuscaloosa. So not a big event in the grand scheme of things, but a big event in terms of local interest.
Yeah, I mean, every player that is connected to the University of Alabama in terms of state ties that we cover, or Auburn, really, all of those players, UABs, you name it, anyone that's out there on tour except for Justin Thomas
is there,
will be in the field this week. Can you hear me, Gary?
Yeah, I said yeah. Yeah, I said there. I just picked up what you said. They're all there. They're all going to be there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be a really big event, and those guys have huge implications on their future jobs. We saw Patton Kizzire win, a Tuscaloosa native, a couple weeks ago, and now he's got a job for 2 years. And that's really been the case for a lot of our guys out there, just because a lot of them are younger in their careers. These wins matter. These good finishes matter. I would encourage everyone, wear your Alabama gear, wear your Auburn gear, whatever it is. Those guys love that. Go out there and cheer them on. If you want to go see really good high-level golf, this is as good as it'll get for you. You'll get to watch Freight on the ropes. It's not going to be like it is at Augusta if you go 20 deep or another big tournament. You get to go right up on the rope. You get to watch them really hit it, and you get to watch them, what makes them hit good shots in their processes. So I can't tell people enough in the fall if you get a chance to go. And, they're here at Sanderson Farms. Now's really the stretch run for all these guys trying to keep their jobs. And, the Sanderson Farms is this week. There's a new tournament next week in Utah. It's never been hosted there. The Shriners in Vegas follows that. Japan, they've always had an event over there in the fall lately. And then they come back to Tiger Woods' new course at Diamante and Cabo, and they finish the year at the RSM at Sea Island. So it's 6 weeks of golf, game on. These guys, all be battling for their jobs. And most of our guys are pretty good. Patton's win helped him move up, but we still got a couple of guys that are definitely going to be fighting tooth and nail for their next year's job.
And for Dunlap, as I mentioned, clearly one of the favorites. He's 34 in the official world golf rankings, highest rated player in the field. He's top 50, of course, on the PGA Tour. And if he were to win this week, he would shoot up even higher, Casey. And again, there's some other good players in the field. I'm going to tell you, but if you just look at the paper, he's the favorite based on accomplishment so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, he's the chalk, and he's had a little bit of a layoff. You don't really know. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these guys that played in the President's Cup that entered in late, you might get an international 2 player that had status to get in. But give me Nick Dunlap any week that he's out there, that he's a favorite. He's a favorite for a reason. I'd have to say, if you got a chance to go watch him play, you'll get to see him have a good week and a top 10 at worst, probably. I think he's just that good.
All right, buddy. Good stuff. What quick thought on that? What we saw Saturday night in Tuscaloosa, special football game with 2 special teams.
Yeah, and I'll get to that. I'll get to. I'm going to say one other thing. I'll get to that. Actually, something for golfers out there to keep an eye on. Okay. I just played in the inaugural High Point tournament. That you can look it up online. High Point Golf Club. Trey Wren, unfortunately, an Auburn fan, won and broke the course record. I was in the group with him. My team finished 3rd, but. High Point is it's incredible what they're doing. Tom Doak is the legendary architect. It was his first course, and it's going to be something in 2 years that you hear along the lines of Pine Valley, Cypress Points, Augusta. They really, truly want to be the High Point in golf, and we got to play the first ever event there. It was awesome. So if you're up in Traverse City, Michigan area, look up High Point and get it on your list for golfers out there. And as far as Tuscaloosa, I just can't get over it. All the dogs texted me. Their text only lasted for about one commercial break from that score when they thought they were down and out to taking the lead. Just so ecstatic to live over here amongst them and have friends and partners with it. We're involved with Georgia. Man, couldn't be happier. Couldn't be happy for those guys. And those freshmen out there for Alabama are just making plays left and right. So stage is not too big for them. And it's not just both number twos either. I mean, they're everywhere.
Yep.
It's really, really impressive. It's impressive what's going on. I said it before on this show. What Alabama's doing on the end game, it just looks like a rock concert. Always. And when you're there, you feel it. I got chills right now talking about it. But just so happy for Alabama to win that game.
It was outstanding and a great segment, Casey, and we appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Gary. Have a great week.
All right, it is 10:47. We got phone calls waiting when we come back, so we're not going to get to any any Kirby Smart or Kalen DeBoer audio. We had it ready, and if Wyatt wants to use it for his show, it'll be available. But we'll come back, finish it out with phone calls next on this busy edition of the Gary Harris Show right after this.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Monday edition of the game, we're going to do our Daniel Moore good moments of the game. Hopefully those are great moments as we recap Alabama, Georgia. We'll do it with Drew DeArmond, Martin Houston, Barrett Sallee, all starting at 2 p.m. on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program and
checked at least once or twice a year. Let your doctor know you are concerned about the health of your kidneys and ask what you can do to keep your kidneys healthy.
365, 24/7. You'll find road and utility crews, tow trucks, law enforcement, and first responders working along Alabama's roadway.
We're making improvements and helping our communities stay connected.
We're working hard to make sure you're safe on the road. Now we need your help to make sure we're safe too.
Alabama's move over law requires you to move over a lane when you see flashing lights on the roadside. And if you can't safely move over, please slow down.
Visit DriveSafeAlabama.org, brought to you by the Alabama Department of Transportation, Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this state.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house.
Makes sense for your business.
Go to townsquarelocal.com for a free demo of the Townsquare Business Management Platform. Visit townsquarelocal.com. That's townsquarelocal.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today. Just a chance of a few isolated showers this afternoon or this evening. The high today 81, the low tonight 63. For tomorrow and Wednesday, warm and dry, sunny both days. Highs between 83 and 86. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 70 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Catch every game and every moment right here. This is your home of Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Go back in. We've been jam-packed this morning. I do want to mention the Braves and Mets playing a doubleheader. If both teams win a game, they're in the playoffs. If one team gets swept, the Diamondbacks go in the National League. All right, we're going to close it out with phone calls. Pat has been patiently waiting, then we'll get to Ground Chuck. Good morning, Pat.
Hey, good morning, Gary. We seem to be on a tear to get into that 43-point average that I thought we needed to get to in order to have a national championship. Jalen appears to me to be getting a much better understanding of Coach DeBoer's offense and able to run more of that offense. Do you feel the same way?
I do. I absolutely do. Listen, I've said it before. He's getting more comfortable. Jalen Milroe's a problem. I mean, he's a problem for other teams. I mean, we have a tendency as people that cover Alabama and as fans to look at him and say, well, he needs to do this and needs to do that. If you're trying to defend against that guy, and we saw it particularly in the first half against Georgia, Alabama had some wrinkles, and they got him out on the perimeter, and he was running crazy. And his stats, passing the ball, 27 to 33 for 374 and 2 touchdowns. The one interception was not his fault. That ball should have been caught. And so, he's playing great. I mean, he's the leading Heisman Trophy candidate right now, according to a lot of these polls, and he deserves it.
Well, I don't know that our 17-year-old, one of the announcers on their television called him a phenom, but that's a pretty good way of explaining what he is.
He is a phenom. Yep, no doubt.
And he may be. He may be a Heisman candidate, too, especially this weekend. I'm predicting 230 yards for the young man this weekend. Ooh. Does Jalen get credit for those, or does he get credit for those? I think yards after contact, he's got the best foot and body control than anybody I've ever seen.
They both get credit, Pat. If you throw like that 75-yard touchdown pass, Jalen gets a 75-yard touchdown pass on his stats, and Williams gets a 75-yard touchdown reception. So, they both get it.
Yeah, I'm getting excited about this weekend. Hey, I want to challenge Alabama fans. I've got 2 tickets, and I've got to bring my happy bud up there too. Because this is not a team to sleep on. They played Missouri tough. I mean, they played Missouri almost to a tie.
They did.
And Missouri, I don't think Missouri is a slouch team, to be honest with you.
They're not. I'm with you. Got to be ready to go when you lace it up in this league. Got to be ready to go every week. Hey, thank you, Pat. I'm going to try to get to Ground Chuck.
Thank you, Gary.
Appreciate you very much. All right, let's close it out with Ground Chuck. Hey, good morning, Ground Chuck. Ground Chuck, you with me? All right, Ground Chuck didn't hold. So good. It gives us a couple minutes here to close it out. I was going to get him on to finish out the show, but I'll get back to the Braves again because I was going to do that quickly. But just so you'll know, this is what it comes down to. Braves and Mets play that doubleheader today in Atlanta. If the Braves win one game, they're in. And if the Mets, the same thing. If they split the doubleheader, they're both in. If one team sweeps the other, the Diamondbacks get in. The problem for the Diamondbacks is whoever wins that first game today, to be honest with you, with the playoffs starting, are probably not going to put a lot of their top guys out there in that second game. So it's going to be hard for one of these teams to sweep the other. But that's the way it works, and that's the story on that. Couple of obits that I want to mention. We do a lot of pop culture on this show. Kris Kristofferson, great legendary singer-songwriter, actor, passing away at the age of 88. And Dikembe Mutombo, you remember the finger wave, the great center out of Georgetown in the NBA, 7'2", would block your shot and then wave his finger at you when you tried to come inside, passing away from brain cancer at a very young age. I'm trying to find his age. I think he was 58. So, that's really sad. So, Kris Kristofferson, who I loved, I thought he was an original. Wasn't a great singer, but great songwriter, and he sang songs that he could sing, if that makes any sense. But he wrote "B and Bobby McGee." You'll remember one of his songs that he wrote. He wrote a lot of them. So, condolences to the families of those two gentlemen, Kris Kristofferson and Dikembe Mutombo. All right, that is going to wrap it up for the show. It's been a fun one today, and we appreciate all our sponsors. I'll be back tomorrow with you at 9 a.m. for the Tuesday edition. Drew DeArmond, the Rocket Man, also Kayla Anderson with the Titans Report. Catch me on TV tonight with your local sports on WVUA 23. And I know, again, we're not on all the systems, but we're working on it. Also, Kalen DeBoer press conference coming up at noon. Coordinators at 11:30. So we'll have that for you on Tide 100.9. T-Town Sports Daily with Wyatt and Chase is coming up next. Have a great day, everybody. I'll talk to you again in the morning at 9 a.m. on The Gary Harris Show.
listening